You know, you guys were there, you started this all, so where's it gonna finish?
Well, quite frankly, I think it's all screwed up. You know, during Apollo, we knew what we were supposed to do. We were going to go land on the moon. And we knew we weren't wandering around whether we were on this planet or that planet or some other planet. I remember, well, it's got to be, I've been on NASA for a long time. It's probably about 30, 40 years ago. I remember standing on the steps of one of the NASA buildings downtown while one of the presidents, I don't remember which one it was now, said, I want to proclaim that we're going to Mars. And I was standing next to the NASA administrator and I said to him, Bob, you know anything about that? He said, no, I never heard about it before. You know, this is not a joke. This is not a joke. He really hadn't heard about it before. And now, I don't know what year that was, but we've been going back to the moon, off to Mars, back to the moon, off to Mars, back to the moon. And you know, they talk about all this stuff. I don't see anybody out there working on anything that'll land on it. They just have these spacecraft that fly around in space. There's not a single lander. How the hell are you going to land on Mars and the moon without a lander? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And somebody needs to grab a hold of the reins and figure out what the hell we're really going to do.
Dave?
I thought you were going to ask that question. You know, everybody, a lot of people ask that question these days, and I don't keep that close to it, but I do watch it from the outside because it's just a great thing to do. And Apollo was just an amazing experience, primarily because of the people and the culture involved. Pretty crude technology, but it worked because there was a goal and there was inspiration and trust. And I look at it now, and candidly, you know, they have, the big plan is now to build a space station around the moon from which to stage and go land on the moon, okay? Well, that may be one way to do it. It may work, but I'll guarantee you it'll be the most expensive way to do it. Because trying to go to the moon is very difficult, and the standards have been set, the concept has been set, and yes, you could go repeat it, but you have to have a reason to do it. And unfortunately now, the people at NASA and wherever are drifting. They're drifting left and they're drifting right. And they're building a giant rocket, which they're not going to build so much anymore. And they're doing this and doing that. And they have these aspirations of commercial partners. Well, a commercial company, from what I understand, is supposed to make money. And so far, nobody's seen how to go to the moon and make any money from the moon. But you can do great science, and the science is a major contributor to what we know on the Earth and the rest of the solar system. Unfortunately, today, science is getting chopped, and it always gets chopped. And it's sort of like, gee, we got to have a big show thing with a big rocket and a big space station and all that, but they're not stopping to work and really think about what contributions can be made from a scientific point of view. So I think we collectively, the United States, are pretty much dead in the water. The Chinese are doing pretty good. They're doing very well. And so far, they're pretty much 100% successful landing their robots on the moon. Maybe they have the inspiration and the capability to go do something. But I think for a long period of time, where the country is at a standstill. And that's why I think whatever we can do to educate the younger people, and I think this museum is one place to do it. Educate the younger people so they know how some of this is done and get them inspired to go do some new thinking, which was Apollo. You talk about new guys in the control center. All these guys in the control center, the height of Apollo, the average age was only 27. They're kids. They're just kids. And they were inspired and they did stuff. So I think The word now is to educate the young people, help them understand what Apollo was, and hopefully in the years forth they'll come up with something that really gets us back to the moon.
The unique thing about Apollo was the NASA administrator had a lot of guts. And when he went around and asked the engineers what they thought it would take to go to the moon, he said they came back with a number around $20 billion. Now today, NASA would go in and say we can do it for 12. And so then they would be struggling around. He went in and said, it's not 20 billion, it's 40 billion. And the NASA guys stuck behind him, and the Congress stood up and allocated the 40 billion. And when I was running the Apollo spacecraft program, I had no problem with money.
Mark, Jim, Rusty, you're up.
Thanks a lot for the question. I think it's been a good object lesson. Don't ask a bunch of old farts how the new guys are doing. They're doing fine. They're doing fine without us. It is what it is, and we go from here. And more power to the young guys, and especially the new private enterprise guys that are now leading the way. I think that's where the real juice is, and I'm really delighted to see that the entry of the private sector into the game. Thanks a lot for the question.
I think from my standpoint, the books have been written. We know how to do many of these things. Technology is there. We have young people educated in this technology. We have to define a goal that will continue through, I'd say at least a generation, through several administrations we got in there. A goal that provides the funding. And to do that, we have to find leadership. We need some leader capable of standing up and saying, this is what we must do, and here is why it must be done. And I don't see that happening.